A lot of watch lovers dream of strapping a Rolex on their wrist, but the wait to actually get one can test even the most patient of us. Lucky for you, we're diving deep into the world of Rolex today, uncovering why snagging one of these coveted timepieces isn't as easy as walking into a store. We'll chat about what makes Rolex watches such a hot commodity, and walk you through the hoops enthusiasts jump through to call one their own. Stick around because we're going to shed some light on the not-so-obvious reasons behind those lengthy wait times for a Rolex, along with some fascinating tidbits that'll keep you hooked till we wrap up. The craze for Rolex watches is through the roof, but the sad truth is, there just aren't enough to meet everyone's desires. So, if you're setting your sights on one, brace yourself for a potential years-long wait. Getting to grips with these wait lists is crucial for any watch enthusiast. It's pretty much like waiting in line for your favorite roller coaster. Patience is key. Simply strolling into a store and expecting to walk out with a Rolex on your wrist, even if you're on a first-name basis with the staff, isn't going to cut it. And when it comes to these wait lists, stores tend to keep them under wraps, so don't be surprised if you're left in the dark when you inquire. Now let's jump into which Rolex watches are at the top of everyone's list and the waiting game you might have to play to snag one. Rolex Explorer. Back in 1953, Rolex introduced the Explorer right around the time Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay made headlines for their epic climb to the top of Mount Everest. Apparently, they were wearing Rolex watches during their groundbreaking journey, which sparked the launch of the Explorer that very year. Since its debut, it's not just adventurers who've fallen for this watch, it's also been a hit with royalty, including the likes of Prince Harry. So if you've got your heart set on adding a Rolex Explorer to your collection, be prepared to hang tight for anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Rolex Skydweller. The Rolex Skydweller burst onto the scene in 2012, quickly cementing its place as one of the brand's most complex and feature-rich collections. What sets it apart are its sophisticated features, like the distinctive off-center disc and the clever SOS annual calendar. Perfect for the globetrotters among us, the Skydweller shines by showing 2 time zones at once, making it a godsend for anyone who finds themselves hopping between time zones. I mean, it's the ultimate blend of functionality and style for those always on the go. Thinking about making a Skydweller yours? Just a heads up, you might need to park yourself on the wait list for a bit, with waits stretching from 8 to a whopping 24 months. Rolex Day-Date. When the Rolex Day-Date hit the scene in 1956, it was a total trailblazer in the watch world. Case in point, it was the first of its kind to flaunt a calendar right on the dial, not just showing the date, but also spelling out the day of the week in full. Talk about fancy, right? And let's not forget, this beauty comes in nothing but the finest materials. Think 18-karat yellow gold, white gold, or even platinum for those who really like to indulge in the finer things. It's no wonder it got the nickname President's Watch, given its popularity among the globe's top leaders. Plus, its tight connection with the iconic President bracelet just boosts its status even more in the watch universe. If you're eyeing the Day-Date for your collection, get ready to play the waiting game. The average wait can stretch anywhere from 6 to a jaw-dropping 36 months. Rolex Daytona. Since it first zoomed onto the scene in 1963, the Rolex Daytona has secured its spot as an undeniable icon. The real showstopper among them? The Paul Newman reference 6239. This model is a collector's dream, famed for its distinct dial and its status as one of the inaugural Daytona models to hit the market. Scoring one of these feels pretty much like hitting the jackpot. These timepieces, with their roots deeply embedded in the adrenaline-pumping world of the Daytona racetrack, are a hit with racing aficionados. They're kitted out with cool features like a tachymeter for measuring speed and a robust movement that car enthusiasts go crazy for. But get yourself prepared. Getting your hands on one of these treasures is no small feat. You might find yourself on a waiting list for anywhere from 12 to a whopping 36 months before you can call this coveted watch your own. Rolex Day-Date 36mm puzzle dial. The Day-Date really turned the watch world upside down when it first came out, being the first wristwatch that let you see not just the date, but also the full day of the week spelled out right there on the dial. It sits pretty at the top in this elegant little window at 12 o'clock, bringing a whole new level of class to checking the time. Fast forward to now, and the Day-Date has gotten itself a bit of a makeover with this super cool puzzle dial design. It's like a breath of fresh air, adding a playful twist that's been turning heads in the watch community. For those on the hunt for something that stands out from the crowd, this version of the Day-Date is like finding gold. But just a heads up, its uniqueness and hot demand mean you might be in for a bit of a wait. Think anywhere from 6 to 36 months, maybe even more, to get your hands on one of these bad boys. Rolex Oyster Perpetual. You see, the Oyster Perpetual is like the bedrock of Rolex, taking us all the way back to the original Oyster in 1926. It's the poster child for what Rolex stands for: rock-solid waterproofing, pinpoint accuracy, and an understated kind of beauty. These watches keep things sleek and simple, steering clear of the flash and fuss. They might not stir up the same frenzy as some of the flashier Rolex pieces, but snagging an Oyster Perpetual has its own kind of charm. For those willing to wait around 6 to 12 months, it's your ticket to owning a slice of Rolex's legendary craftsmanship and timeless style. Rolex 1908. At the latest Watches and Wonders show, Rolex really turned heads with the introduction of the 1908 collection, stepping in as the new face of the Cellini line. It's like they've dipped into a classical vibe, drawing inspiration from the timeless elegance of Beethoven, of all things. This move is a bit of a game-changer for Rolex and a nod to a new direction under Hans Wilsdorf's legacy. The 1908 watches are all about sleek lines, featuring a slim case that's jazzed up with a really eye-catching fluted bezel. You've got your pick between yellow or white gold, each option dripping in sophistication. Since it's just hit the scene, figuring out the wait time is a bit like trying to catch fog, tricky. But the word is, we're looking at a brand new wait list kicking off, with early guesses saying you might be looking at a wait of at least 6 months. Rolex Submariner. Back in 1953, the Rolex Submariner burst onto the scene, and by the time it hit Baselworld the next year, it was clear that something big was happening. That launch turned the dive watch world on its head, setting a new standard that would ripple through time. The Submariner line, with its focus on sports and professional use, hit a home run by being the first to brag about being waterproof up to 100 meters. And let's not forget those iconic Mercedes hands. They're a big part of what makes these watches legendary. Known for their tough-as-nails build and top-notch functionality, snagging a Rolex Submariner usually means cooling your heels for about 6 to 12 months on average. Rolex Sea Dweller. The Sea Dweller is Rolex's crown jewel among dive watches, a true testament to the brand's mastery in crafting tools for underwater adventurers. Born in 1967 to meet the rigorous needs of deep-sea divers, it celebrated its 50th birthday in 2017 with a major makeover. This update saw its case swell from 40mm to a more robust 43mm, boosting its wrist presence and fortifying its resilience against the pressures of the deep. They also tossed in a Cyclops lens over the date display, marrying practicality with its sleek look. If you're eyeing a Sea Dweller for your collection, gear up for a bit of a wait. On average, enthusiasts find themselves in line from anywhere between 3 to 18 months. Rolex Datejust. Back in 1945, the Datejust rolled out as Rolex's first automatic waterproof chronometer that had the nifty feature of showing the date at 3 o'clock on its face. This watch was pretty much Rolex showing off all the cool tech they'd mastered until then, and it really set a new bar for what watches could be. Staying true to its original vibe over the decades, the Datejust has nailed the combo of keeping time accurately, being unfazed by water, and winding itself. Its classic look has a kind of magic that keeps watch fans and collectors coming back for more. Thinking about making a Datejust yours? Just a heads up, you might need to hang tight for about 3 to 6 months on average before you can strap one on. Rolex GMT-Master II. Launched in 1955, the GMT-Master didn't take long to become the ultimate companion for globetrotters. It particularly caught the eye of pilots, soaring in popularity when Pan Am adopted it following their groundbreaking non-stop flight from New York to Moscow in 1959. Spotting a pilot with this watch became a silent nod to its cool factor. Fast forward to 1982, and Rolex shook things up with a new movement that allowed travelers to adjust the hour hand independently, ushering in the era of the GMT-Master II. If you're keen on snagging one for yourself, be ready for a bit of a wait. It could be anywhere from 12 to 24 months before you're jet-setting with one on your wrist. Even with Rolex churning out an impressive 1 million watches a year, they just can't seem to keep up with the sky-high demand, leaving us all hanging on those infamous waitlists. It looks like these lists are here to stay, a testament to just how much everyone loves Rolex. And that wraps up our video for today. Which Rolex has caught your eye enough to play the waiting game? Thanks for sticking with us to the end. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to Opulent Oasis to keep up with all the latest watch talk. Catch you in the next video.